Well, hello, my beautiful people. This is the Fan from the Stands podcast. It's been a little bit. I've had a little hiatus. I had to finish some stuff up for school, but I'm back. Today's rundown is Lufkin football, where they're at in the playoffs, Lufkin basketball, what the future of that looks like this season with both the boys and girls. And then this week, Lufkin volleyball playoffs. Who do they face? What kind of team they're going to take on, and where they're playing and all that. Thank you for listening in. Today is October 28th, 2025. Let's get this thing started. How's it going? Like I said, we're gonna do things a little different this year. We're gonna have video, unlike in the past where there was just audio. I'm really excited about this season for Lufkin Panther sports as a whole. Really looking forward back to getting to the podcast. Appreciate all the help this last year. A lot of people helped. It's been a fun ride, and I felt like it's really a good time to start back. I had some of the players really asked about starting this back up, and that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to bring up. From my perspective, of course, it's fun. It's fun to be a part of sports. That's a big part of just my personality in general. But overall, one of the reasons why people ask me, do you like college, NFL? Do you want to do something like that? And no, the reason why is because I love being able to give the opportunity maybe some of these kids have never gotten to hear their voice. And also, it gives them memories. I've had a lot of parents kind of contact me and say, hey, we really appreciate what you do. And that's something that I really enjoy because they may not ever get this opportunity. And so it's really more for them. Of course, it gives me an opportunity to do what I love. And so really excited about this season, like I said. But yeah, today's rundown, we're going to go over Lufkin football, also Lufkin basketball for both the girls and boys, and Lufkin volleyball playoffs. Let's get right to it. So in terms of football this season, it's been a little different overall. I know it's been a huge transition with Coach Absack. Um, uh, so a lot of different things, the moving pieces, if you will, offensively. It's definitely been different especially when you talk about offensively. People don't understand sometimes this year. Guys have what would I say? I guess sometimes they've been out of position or just a little discombobulated. Well, that's because when you've ran an offense, such as they have under the previous regime, for so long, for 15, 20 years, going from predominantly a spread offense to an RPO, it's a big transition. So there needs to be some patience, but I really like the effort from the coaching staff and just overall as the Panther has progressed this year, and really excited for the future. But anyways, this year we'll look at Panther football. Right now, they're sitting at 5-3 overall, 2-2 in district. They have two games remaining with Beaumont United. The Timberwolves, they play them down there in Beaumont at Doggett Stadium. They're 5-3 as well in 2-2 district play. So this is a big game. Originally, if you would ask me coming into the season, would it really matter? No, they didn't show anything last year, but they're kind of playing really well. So it's a big game in terms of playoff implications. And then we finish off the season at home against Galveston Ball, the Tornadoes. To be honest, overall with Galveston Ball, they're not a very good football team. So, but it's still a big game because when you look at playoff implication, we have to win out. Uh, Now, in terms of playoffs, uh, if we can win out and get some help, maybe Barbours Hill lose one of those last two games or last game, we could end up getting second overall in the district. But if not, we're probably going to hit third. So if we look at the playoff bracket, there's a lot left the next couple of weeks to decide where Lufkin will land. And so This is just kind of currently, but the next couple of weeks will really decide where the future for Lufkin Panther football, especially the playoffs, look. So, in terms of this season, really excited about the Lady Panthers and the Panthers basketball. A lot of talent coming back from both teams. Um, Last season, the Lady Panthers, if you didn't know, they had a lot of injuries, kind of really set back. I think they would have ended up probably making the playoffs as a 3 or 4 seed, but they had a lot of injuries. Played really well in a competitive district, so really excited about that. The boys, the last 4 or 5 years have been really competitive. They had last year one of the best seasons they've ever had. Really looking forward to this next season. In fact, a lot of respect for the boys basketball this next season. Lufkin comes in the TABC rankings at number 17 in the state. Uh, in terms of GASO rankings, which I actually prefer because I think it's a little more in depth in terms of the rankings. Lufkin comes in at number 5, one of the highest rankings preseason I've ever seen, as long as I've followed Lufkin basketball. So it's really exciting to see. Really looking forward to this season for both the girls and boys. It could be a dream season for both ball clubs. So really looking forward to that. And speaking of dreams, Jimmy's engine. You want an engine? We'll have it running like a dream. So going towards the transition, the volleyball, Lufkin volleyball really had a great season. Ended up getting that top overall seed in terms of Division One, which is huge because it doesn't put you up against one of the. You could end up being against a district champion. That's the weird thing about these divisions. But Lufkin at 34-9 overall, 12-4 in district play. They play the Melissa Cardinals, 21-17, 8-6 overall at Maybank High School this Thursday at 6:30. Be there. It's going to be exciting. Don't be fooled by Melissa's overall record in terms of the volleyball. Uh, One of the best districts in the state. Overall, the district has two two teams with 30 plus wins. The third place team has 29 wins on the season. This also includes the number 4 team in the state, McKinney North. So just because their record doesn't look as impressive, they're really, really good. That district knows how to play volleyball, but so do we. So really excited for Thursday. That includes now we'll look to ask Jeremy Stewart, our head volleyball coach, some questions on the coaches show. All right, I'm here with head coach, volleyball coach Jeremy Stewart. I appreciate you coming on the show today, sir. Uh, Coach, wanted to ask you, why specifically did you get into volleyball and coaching?
Well, I came out of college from Baylor, and actually, I've always wanted to be a coach. Basketball was actually my first love, and while I was at Baylor, I actually played for the men's club volleyball team. So kind of got me interested in the sport, and in the first couple of years, my first jobs were assistant basketball, and it was tied to volleyball. I really had no interest in coaching girls at all, actually, but it happened to be the first couple jobs I got were girls' jobs, and that's fine. And then in my second year, I was teaching at a school, and the head coach was gone to volleyball, and I kind of ran practice, and the girls were like, "Hey, coach, we really learned a lot today. That was awesome. Thank you so much." And from then, it just kind of sparked something in me, and 21 years later, here we are, and still rolling.
Yes, sir. Well, I wanted to ask you, was it a big transition going from volleyball or basketball specifically to volleyball? Was it a big transition?
Oh, for sure. Basketball is a lot different, especially in regards to coaches' control over the game, I guess, if you will. Volleyball is so limited as far as substitutions and the number of substitutions and who subs for who. Basketball is just free go.
Yeah,
5 in, 5 out. This kid for this kid. You play 5 seconds. Volleyball is has a lot more restrictions. That was a lot of the first several years of coaching. That was the hardest thing to learn how to do. And then of course when I started back in the day, coaches couldn't even stand.
Right.
We were sitting on the bench the whole time, and I was like, wait, what? I can't stand.
Oh wow.
Because again, I was used to basketball sidelines,
Yes,
so running up and down and doing the thing, and 2 or 3 years later into my career, that rule changed. But it just simply not standing versus sitting.
I
was
could
an
imagine.
It was wild for sure.
Yes, sir. So, you talked about you've had a lot of experience coaching. Tell us a little bit about, you came from Diboll.
Yes, sir.
And you're now been at Lufkin the last couple of years. So what has been the difference maybe going from Diboll to Lufkin, specifically from the bigger or smaller school to a bigger school?
Well, I think the kids here have a little bit more access to a larger area for volleyball. I know several of the kids that play club and play high-level teams, go down to Houston and stuff like that. And the kids at Diboll did too. That was more localized.
Right.
So it's a little bit broader here. The knowledge is a little bit deeper. And nothing against the kids at Diboll, please don't get me wrong. I'm not speaking ill of anybody, but it seems like there's more. The backgrounds were deeper, especially with this class.
Gotcha.
And I know there's kids coming at both schools that play club all the way through, but this group especially just started at a younger age and were really developed, and I think that was part of the biggest difference.
Right.
Was just their background with this group.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about from the background standpoint, you didn't have to kind of start at the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a huge transition? Was it easier in some ways, but was it harder? Or was it both?
It was an adjustment as far as, like you said, everywhere I'd been up until this point in the career was always, kind of starting over with, this is how we do things, and this is how you pass the ball, and, just really having to reset that foundation. I got here, that was already there.
Right.
A lot of the basics and the way you do things was already ingrained in them, and
Gotcha.
so I got to basically start where I finished,
Right.
oftentimes at other places, and just build from there. Here was more about just kind of putting in and doing things the way I wanted to, especially with the fact that when I came, basically the whole varsity team had graduated.
Right.
So I just had a couple holdovers, Kyra Smallwood, Chesney McCullough, Jaslyn O'Neill were varsity players. So I basically inherited the JV team, who was also a very strong team, and then all I had to do was kind of mix and match the pieces, kind of get them in those orders, and go, and it was great.
Yes, sir. Well, you talk about a little bit about the fundamentals. So you're a fundamental guy. What kind of culture is that a part of you? Is that something you really preach as a coach? Also, are you more of, hey, we're gonna lean on each other a lot, or we're gonna be like, hey, we've got to correct this? What is your kind of coaching philosophy?
Well, like the fundamental aspect of the game is very important in volleyball. In volleyball, you can't get away with just being an athlete.
Right.
There's other sports you can run fast, jump high, and you can win a lot of games
sure.
doing that.
Right.
In volleyball, if those are all of the things you can do. You can jump really high, but if you can't hit the ball inside the box,
Right.
You're going to lose points.
Right.
If you can't serve the ball over the net, so it negates some of the things that in other sports you can have a bigger advantage without having that fundamental or the fundamental knowledge.
Right.
Here with these kids, they're also very, very athletic.
Right.
But they also have that fundamental knowledge, and sometimes I have to kind of reel them back in and say, hey, you make sure you're doing this, because those type of things, especially the upper levels, when you're playing really good teams, a lack of fundamental, a lack of knowledge, a lack of discipline will expose you very, very quickly.
Absolutely.
And you can play a team that, other sports, if they're bigger and they're faster, you're going to lose 9
Right.
times out of 10. In volleyball, you can actually win those type of games because of discipline, because of fundamentals.
Right.
And so I've really tried to stress that over these few years. And I think we're in a position where we may not be the biggest team on the floor this year in this playoff round, in this first year or this first round, but I think we have a stronger foundation, a stronger base knowledge, and I think that's going to be able to catapult us over where we are also athletic.
Right.
But because we have that extra, I think we're going to be in a good position.
Awesome. Well, this year it's been a little different. Last couple of years they've had a lot of success. They've won a couple of district championships and really had a lot of success. And this year's been a bit of a change. Not in a bad way, but just they didn't win district. but it's been really competitive.
Very.
So tell us a little bit about how this season's been as a coach, and you talked a little bit about also the fact that this team has been so together. This is a real close knit group. Talk about that.
It has been, yeah. We had a couple little oopsies, I guess, if you will, as we went through district, and we dropped some games that we didn't feel that really we should have dropped. Hallsville is a very strong team, and they brought back basically the whole squad. Have really come on.
Yeah.
And like I said, you're just not going to win every game. You're not going to win every championship. We won. This program has won 4 in a row.
Right.
2 while I've been here. And things just didn't work out.
Right.
But the good thing is we feel that we've learned from those mistakes. We've learned talking about focus, talking about execution when you're up. And when you're already up in a game, you have to continue to execute, continue to keep your focus all the way through. And I think we've learned some valuable lessons on that. And I think one of the things that these kids are able to fall back on is the tightness that they have this year. The last couple of years, they've all gotten along. It's been fine, but this year especially, they've really come together. And I give credit to the captains and it being such a senior-laden team,
right,
that these kids have all grown up together, and so now they've really taken the initiative to spend more time together off the floor.
Right.
I mean, I think they're doing team bondings at least every weekend, at least once a weekend, swimming and doing the thing,
Yeah.
and it's been great. And I think it's really carried that over into the team, where we haven't had a whole lot of extracurricular problems, I guess if you will, that we've had sometimes in the past. These kids have really done a really good job about it.
Yes, sir. Well, in terms of that specifically, I've been around sports for a long time. You have as well. You've seen teams that have been athletic, but they haven't been as close knit as maybe this group. They have success, but then they get in the playoffs and things get tight, and it kind of falls apart. Do you feel like, as from a coach, that really helps transcends for the playoffs, specifically about having that close knit group?
For sure. It boils down to trust. With the kids, if they're tight, they trust each other.
Right.
They don't have to overplay or do something else that they're not supposed to be doing because they don't think that the other kid can handle it.
Right.
Or because what happens if you don't have, in volleyball it's very specific what you're doing, and if you try and lean over to one side or try and overcompensate, I guess, for another player, then you put your position and your responsibilities at risk.
Right.
And we've had that in the past where the trust wasn't there or the cohesiveness wasn't there. This year, I feel that it is, and we've really touched the lineup, and I think I've found a position where everyone's being successful, and we can play to our strengths.
Awesome.
And I think we have that lineup here and now. And then, like I said, because they're so tight knit, they're able to trust each other and support each other and do those things. Because when we do, we play at a whole different level. And I think that's been something that's allowed us to, like I said, make up for some of those past mistakes with losing some games we didn't feel we needed to,
Right.
but not give up or not let it get worse and really respond. We responded Monday night. Like I said, we dropped that set to the match at Texas High in the second round in 5 at
Right.
Texas High. We knew we shouldn't have done that. And I said, look, here you have an opportunity. You get presented with an opportunity to make up for mistakes. A lot of times you don't get that.
Right.
Like, we could have very easily gotten 4th and been done.
Right.
And walk into McKinney North in the first round, who's the number 1 team in the state.
Yeah.
Knocked us out last year. Who in fact knocked us out 2 years before that.
Right.
And we get presented with an opportunity to make up for that, to play Texas High again. We did that, beat them like we should have, and here we are. So I really think some of the struggles we've gone through this year were those type of struggles didn't happen in years past. Here we are. Now you got struggles. You didn't win the district championship, but now you've got an opportunity where you're playing a team that you should beat.
Right.
And a beatable team, and maybe do something. Maybe that's why we've gone through the struggles that we have this year.
Right.
And now we have this opportunity to get out of the first round.
Yes, sir. Well, you kind of hit on what I was going to ask you next. Going to the playoffs, you're playing really well, playing right at the right time. You'd rather be playing hot now than being cold going into playoffs.
For sure.
I know that for sure. So, does the strategy change in terms of going into the playoffs, or is it just kind of the same routine? Is there more intensity involved? What does that look like?
We ratcheted it up a little bit, but with these kids being as old as they are, like I said, having a group of mostly seniors, with the exception of 3, they take care of that on their own. As far as adjustments, we look at the other team, what they like to do. We try to see if we can find some weaknesses. So if we find a weakness, we'll try and exploit it, just like anything else.
Right.
But as far as trying to redo our basic system or anything like that, no. Like I've always told my hitters, you hit the ball where you want to hit it. Their responsibility as blockers to try and stop you. Right. We've been caught sometimes in the past this year where we're thinking about that. We have a big block, or we have a solid block in front of us, and we want to do this, and let's try and do this. No. Do what you want to do. They have to stop you.
Right.
And so we've learned from those things, and I think Friday night or Monday night especially was something where we said, this is how we're going to play. This is what we're going to do, especially on the offensive side. Good luck stopping us.
Yeah, yes.
And I think that's what we have to do tonight or tomorrow. We have the team that has some height, it has some size, it has some athletic ability. But as long as we do what we do and know where their weaknesses are and exploit those weaknesses,
right,
we don't have to change a whole lot.
Yes, sir. Well, that was my last question. So you talked about how you do what you need to do. You take care of business. Tell us a little about what makes Lufkin so good, and then lastly, what makes Melissa beat? Why are they good?
Well, we're, like I said, we're very athletic. We have outstanding pin play from the outside position with Chesney and Akira. They're all-state individuals. Both were all-state last year as outside hitters. In fact, Chesney was an all-state middle her sophomore year. So that again, so there's another example of where I have that ability to, if for whatever reason, if I need to move Chesney in the middle,
right,
I'm taking an all-state outside, and now I've got an all-state middle.
Right.
We have athleticism in the middle. We have with Jaslyn, and then we have size with Adeline Allen. In fact, she brings a whole nother element to the position simply because she's a left-handed player.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't see that. It's because of the way the ball's set to the hitter. Normally you set it on shoulder side, which is normally a right-handed player. So
right,
that ball has to cross her face before it gets to her hitting hand, and that gives defenses all kinds of problems. So that gives an option there. Okay. And then on the right-hand side, we have Savannah, who's a 6-footer, who is an outstanding blocker, and then really brings the heat and a high contact point above the net for a hitter on that right side. That's not a common thing. Right. And then little Smallwood, Alicia Smallwood, who really brings a hammer over on that right side that, again, most people just aren't used to seeing. So our pin play and the athleticism in the middle is something that these teams are not used to seeing. And then our defensive line, Akira, again, was an all-state player who racked up crazy digs. We have, Madison Bradbury, who is an outstanding libero. I truly believe we have all the pieces. Okay. And like I said, we've been doing this 21 years, and I've told the girls this, and I can't count how many times. 21 years is by far the best team I've ever had.
Awesome.
From top to bottom. It's an outstanding team. We're really going to miss them next year.
Yeah, for sure.
When they all graduate. But they all graduate, and I've got 5 now that are moving on to play college ball.
Awesome.
So, and hoping for one more.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's exciting because hopefully we go on and we see you for the next couple of weeks and have all this success. But anyways, I appreciate you, Coach, coming on the Coach's Show. Appreciate all you do, and thank you for coming on, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.